Welcome back. Election day is almost upon us. By now, we should know who to vote for and why we want to vote for them. But with such a vast number of candidates, how do we decide who to vote for? The UPFA has made no secret about wanting a two-thirds majority. But what will they do if they get it? How will the minorities vote this time around? I spoke with Attorney-at-Law Javid Yusuf to find out his views. Mr. Yusuf, thanks for joining me on the program. The presidential election has given President Mahinda Rajapaksa the mandate to go on for another term in office. Do you think this is an indication of the people's trust in his ability to take the country forward and strengthen democracy?
Well, it's difficult to say because the whole election itself is under question. There's an election petition and there have been various questions raised as to whether the actual result reflects the voting that took place on the 26th of January. But by and large, one of the things that has favored the president a lot in the last election has been his victory or leading the country to victory in the war over the LTT. But one cannot expect the president to continue to ride that wave forever. So it all depends now in the future how well he's able to deal with the grave situation that the country is faced with.
Okay, but the UPFA is not just asking for people to vote for them. They're asking for a two-thirds majority in the upcoming general election. Do you think this would be in the best interest of the country for them to get that two-thirds majority?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so at all, because a two-third majority is dangerous in any form. And with the executive presidency, which is by definition very dangerous because there is a high concentration of power in one individual, two-third majority added on to that can be potentially dangerous and can take the country along an undemocratic path. But more important than that is the fact that the UPFA is asking for a two-third majority to amend the constitution without saying what constitutional changes that they intend making. So that's like asking for a blank check. And I don't think people should give a blank check to any government without knowing what the government intends doing.
Okay, now speaking of candidates, it looks like we're going to be spoiled for choice. There's an unprecedented number of candidates contesting this election. How will the voter figure out for themselves with this wide array of candidates who to vote for, who is best for them to vote for?
Well, I don't know. Frankly, I don't know how the ordinary voter, simple voter is going to figure out how he's what is the best choice. But one thing seems to be very clear, that looking around at the quality of the candidates who are presenting themselves at a high level, who are showing great visibility, looking around, I don't think it sort of portends good for the country, because what we need in parliament are people who can contribute in terms of ideas, debate, subjecting legislation to critical review. We had very good parliamentarians in the past. The present lot of candidates, with the exception of very few, don't fit that bill at all.
But do you think because their campaigns are so extensive that they will end up getting into parliament?
Yeah, I think there are many candidates who seem to be having a surfeit of money, and they're using that to gain popularity. And by some chance, if they do get into parliament, they would knock out more suitable candidates, simply because those candidates don't have the resources to convince, to campaign over a wide area, geographical area, and convince the voter. So as a result of lack of resources, you will find the good candidates losing out, and the country as a whole can be the loser.
Okay, now moving on to minority communities. Do you think that the main parties, including the main opposition party, is adequately concerned about their issues?
Well, I think there is no debate whatsoever in this election, not only about minority issues, about national issues which reflect the problems of the country. So in that context, the minority issues, which are also, though minority issues are national issues, because it concerns the whole country, not only the minorities. There is no discussion, there is no debate. For instance, there is no publicly declared policy of how to achieve national reconciliation, which is probably one of the most compelling needs that the country faces as it comes out of the protracted war that took place over the last 20, 30 years.
Whatever the outcome, do you think we will be able to move on as a country and address serious issues such as national reconciliation in the future?
Well, I don't know whether we will be able to, but we have to, we hope so, because, you know, it's development alone, infrastructure development alone is not enough. When there are vast sections of the community who are having wounds, they are not certain where they stand vis-a-vis the Sri Lankan state, whether they stand as equal citizens. All those wounds can be healed if there is a national policy of reconciliation, which is where leadership is given primarily by the state, and of course other sections of society as well, but the primary role has to be by the state. So whether we will address these problems, whether we will deal successfully with it, will depend largely on the role that the state is going to take for itself. But of course, civil society and those concerned for the future of our country can play a role by applying pressure, persuading leaders that Sri Lanka has to take a particular course of action so that we will be a proud nation in the future.
Okay, thanks so much for joining me on the program.